21 trillion years ago, as we are in linear time, apparently all of us as essences, as isness, as sparks of spirit, were someplace else in a completely different reality. And what they say happened was that the Big Bang Theory is basically correct in its simplicity, but the physical part that we know of was the last of the creations or realms created in what we call our universe. Okay, now when I'm referring to universe, I want you to know that I am talking about all of the 11 creational densities, or planes. That'll make it simpler for you. What they say happened was that all the black holes were created because wherever we were, that space, that universe, began to evolve. And as it evolved, those of us who weren't ready to evolve literally gained weight in mass. Okay? And in gaining weight, we started to fill black holes. And at some point, when this other universe evolved to a certain frequency, those of us that didn't literally broke out of those black holes and created this space which we call our universe. And what we're witnessing 21 trillion years later is the same thing happening. And what happens here is, what's happening now in our universe is that, according to Mornay and Faceas, on March 23rd of 1994, a color and sound frequency started emanating out of all of the black holes. And the color and sound literally, in its unified effect, is attaching to all of the densities, or planes. What's happening is that it's raising all the frequencies. Everything is literally being pulled up from the bootstraps. It is literally creating a holograph over these 11 creational planes. They're calling this the 12th. And the reason they are is that it is unified, but yet it's separate. And that they have been told by other races that there are beings of consciousness never seen the likes of before inside this 12th. And that they literally have the ability to look straight down through all the dimensional levels. What's happening is that third density is beginning to implode, because as the frequency starts to rise of third density matter, those that choose to evolve, there are a greater number who are in fear and will not be making the same transition we will be. Now, because we're spirit, the essence of us is spirit, nothing ever dies, literally nothing. So what is happening is that there are black holes being created as we speak. There are dips, literal dips in physicality being created, where people will be gathering, souls will be gathering as they make their transition into these spaces so that they can continue to evolve by literally creating another space. Unfortunately, one of these areas is between us and the dog star Sirius, which is why there's so much crap coming our way. Okay, you got a front row seat. And all I can tell you is, bless them as they make their transition. Because we've been there before, all of us. And I've been told on our planet that literally the probability is there will only be 400 million of us making this transition. it's not a, it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. You know, it would be nice if it was everybody. And when you get to fifth density, look for the house with the mailbox with the balloons. That's my house. I'll have everything there, sandwiches, you just show up. I'm serious. I'll have to get a job. What was the other thing? Okay. Now, going back to the genetics that I shared with you about us having the 22 different races and the primate race, and because of our apparent essences, where we've been on a spiritual level and then decided to come back and start this thing all over again, what's happening is we can apparently, our DNA can vibrate because of our ability to hold the extremes of emotion inside of us. Our DNA can vibrate at such a frequency, a high frequency, we can hold so much energy that we can literally take our experiences from here and part of our physicality into the fifth plane, fifth density. Now, when this happens, we radically will change what they know. Okay, this is why when people say, well, geez, Alex, why don't they just intervene? You know, there's more to that than you think, because when they come down here and they commingle with us, it not only changes our reality, it changes their reality. And a little piece of us goes back with them. Now, if most of you, let's just, for example, we're from Andromeda, okay? You all evolve, you all lift up, you all move into fifth density, and then you decide, I'm going home, and you're off. And we all march into Andromeda together. Their civilization, their reality will never be the same. And this is why many of the races, particularly the benevolents, are coming back, because they want a heads up. They want to know what to expect. They want to know who we are. Do you follow what I'm trying to say? Okay, now the negatives, they've got everything really nice where they live. You know, they got everything under control, and they have their caste systems. All right? They don't want us walking in there. Let's say some of you are from Orion. They don't want you going in there and wreaking havoc. Start teaching them about free will, about freedom. They don't want that. Okay, just because they're at another level doesn't mean they're that all evolved. There's still crap there too. Okay? And they have a vested interest in control systems, control factors. And they don't want anybody rocking the cart, especially a race that they consider to be beasts. You know, and what's really interesting is they created their own undoing. They really did. By tinkering and everything else. And all it would take would be one of you to go in there and change one of these systems. Just your frequency alone. So you truly are royalty. You know, you guys are just awesome. And the war is about that. The war that's coming is literally because there are benevolent races that want our experience. They want our DNA. They want our emotions. They want us to be teachers. Because many of the benevolent races have lost their passion, folks. They've lost their passion. You know, for the Greys themselves, they thought that emotion was a weakness. So they literally bred it out. And now they're dying. Okay? They're dying, and they're totally stuck on technology. Their children, they're not having children anymore. Because there's no passion in the body. The spirit cannot attach to the physical form. And there are other races like this. There are other races, and I was told by Mornay that the Pleiadians in 982 years in our linear time would start showing genetic breakdown because of so much interbreeding within the one race. Okay? We offer a booster to that because we have their genetics, you know, as well as others, but we also have the passion. You know, the ability to hold passion, which is an awesome creative force. So there are some that really want us to be there, and there are some that are terrified of us being there. And that's really what it's about. The effects of what's going on here between now and 2013 are long-term. Apparently, almost 400 years into our future, there's tyranny. So what happens here is a major consequence because of who we are. And whatever we do here on third density, moving into fifth density, we will literally change 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It'll have a domino effect all the way up. Because apparently that's where we originally came from before we moved into physicality here. So we have to be responsible. There's a much bigger agenda here in picture. And I'm sure that there's even more that I don't know that maybe another contactee in the future or somebody else has already said. You know, you have to be private investigators. You've got to be detectives. And I know that there's so much information out there and so much junk and there's so much great stuff out there. But you're literally going to have to weed it through yourselves. No one has all the answers. No one. There might be some that have more of the pieces of the puzzle. But the bottom line is, every single one of you in this room, even the people outside the room who aren't here sharing this, who have no clue, who still think ET is a joke, they have a piece of the puzzle. They just may not be able to bring their piece to the puzzle when we move into fifth density or plane. Anyway.
Alex, it's me.
I thought it was God. I'm not building an ark. You can just forget it.
All right. When does the collapse, the dimensional collapse, starting? Is it already starting?
It's already started.
With the sound and the color?
Okay. It's already started. Thank you for leading me here. What you're going to start hearing about in the very near future are something called rods. And they will be something that will be videotaped. And what you will see are large streaks just shooting through the air that are etheric, but are being able to be captured on tape. And what you're seeing is literally fourth and fifth dimensional craft moving through space, not having the slightest clue that they're flying right through us. Okay? And that's because you're beginning to see the implosion. It's great stuff.
And ghosts?
Yes, you will see more ghosts, more apparitions, because those that are stuck between third and fourth density will start being more and more visible as our frequency starts to raise and rise. A lot of them, unless they are healed, and I do not know how to do that, how to set them free from their self-imposed prisons, will be exiting, transitioning. Angels, folks, be very careful about somebody who tells you they're an angel. For example, I've asked about the archangels. And the Andromedan perspective of that is that the archangel Michael was literally a fleet of craft that were called Mikael. That was the name of the fleet. And they used to patrol the northern hemisphere of the planet when Orion was here in full force. Gabriel was the name of another fleet of craft, and so on and so forth. It has been changed and created into something that will save you and rescue you, when in fact, that was not the original intent at all. Okay? What's going to happen in the next 10 years? I will share this with you. There are definitely some things underneath the Sphinx, but the bulk of the real stuff that will tell us about our ancient history is still underneath the pyramid. And there was a vault built 3 levels deep, and the pyramid was built over it. Okay, that's where the real juice is. That's where the real knowledge is. The Sphinx will have some things, but it's a distraction. You know, these guys are real good at what they do, at diverting attention from reality, from truth. They're excellent at it. If they put that much energy into telling the truth, God, we'd all be out of here. You know? Okay, hold on one sec. And I wanted to share something with you. I'm very fascinated with the Native Americans. And I love to collect feathers when I find them on my journeys and my vision quests. And I was given this on 3/19 of 94, and I just want to share this with you. It's primarily about the Native Americans and the original intent behind them wearing the feather. In the ancient way, your native red American races understood the nature of the birds. The birds are very sensitive to magnetic fields and microwave energy, as you call it. They will migrate along the Earth energy grids, and their wings, which are made up primarily of feathers, were to be watched as they were very sensitive. To watch and follow the birds is to know which way the Earth's magnetic flows are moving. They would also, the Native American races, camp off these magnetic flows because the radiation would become harmful in time. The feathers are very sensitive to energy fields and magnetic fields. They are, in fact, an antenna. The feather would attract telepathic communication with all the tribe. As the chief would think or quietly discuss plans, the rest of the tribe would, in the ancient days, receive the message with few or no words. Isn't that cool? Asked my wife if I should wear a feather in my hair. She says, nah. Now, what's really interesting is that most of our cities are built on the magnetic grids. When, you know, there's a lot of folks sick in the inner city. There's a lot of turmoil in the inner cities. Okay? Because we're not in balance. And of course, we persecuted the Indians because their knowledge was different than ours. Okay. The quiet science of archaeology has and will discover more and more of our ancient history, including extraterrestrial civilizations. There is going to be the acknowledgement of a temple complex that belonged to Lemuria that is apparently still intact, lying approximately 150 miles southwest of Easter Island. I'm told it's huge. I've also been told the Russians already know it's there. They have photographed it and explored it in mini submarines. We are going to discover that consciousness, I know you guys already know this, but for those who aren't here, we are going to discover that consciousness is not in the brain, but is located in its entirety in the energy field and or aura. And that energy field is the 4 to 14 ounces the body loses at the moment of death. Okay, I know you guys know that. Let's see. UFOs. Okay. Apparently, there have been discussions amongst benevolent councils, and I will only speak for the Andromeda Council because that's what Morane has told me, that they have told all of the negative extraterrestrials in and or on our planet and on the moon to be out of here no later than August 12th, the year 2003. I've also been told that there's a very high probability that we could wake up some morning in that area of time and our moon will not be here. That is because it is the first stage of defense. And they will literally hit it with a tractor beam and pull it away from us if they're going to do battle. Because if they were to attack it to get in here for whatever reason and it were to explode, everything would be for naught. Now, when I first talked about this, there were some people that were very upset. Well, geez, what about the ocean and the waves and my moon cycle and all this other stuff? So I went back to Morane and I says, hey, I've got, some gripes about the moon disappearing. And he says, well, we'll just get you another one. And I says, you'll make sure it won't be hollow, right? He says, yes. So apparently all that would really happen would be that the oceans would become lakes. We wouldn't have the tides, and we probably wouldn't have the crazy attitudes and such like that. I've asked them about astrology, and I want you to know this is their perspective. Okay? Does everybody hear what I just said? Okay. Their perspective is that it's not accurate. That the purpose for charting the stars, what originally we were taught and left with, was because they needed to know the magnetic flows of the stars and the systems for space travel. And that somehow we have taken that and made an entirely new, different belief system out of that knowledge. You knew that. Maybe I should sit out here. It's an option, huh? But you guys are so far from Colorado. Okay, all right. Let's do some questions. Let's do some questions. Yes.
Alex, why are the Andromedans and the council, which I thought was intriguing, the council that met, why did they decide to give the ultimatum to all the ETs that are in the earth and on the earth and above the earth at a specific time? And I think it's also of interest that some of the council rebelled and didn't want to send anything into here. So why, okay, Alex, why? What's going to happen when everything's turned off? No, I have a good memory, Alex. And then number two, I forgot number two. Great memory.
Well, let me answer the first one. Some memory.
No,
okay. Let me answer the first
Alex,
one.
that.
Let me answer the first one. Okay. Apparently, the reason why they want to help and so many others want to help is because in your genetics, you have a frequency that is attached to different races. Okay? I have a frequency that is attached to Andromeda. And what happens is, they as a race, just because I may move into another space and time or holograph, there is a part of me that is still attached to them. Okay? And there is a degree of non-evolution because of the law of consistency, we all don't move together. At some point, whenever that is, our entire universe, including all of the dimensions or planes, will implode and we will all go home to the source. Okay? This is one of the reasons why The other reason, of course, is what I stated earlier, is because of our genetics. They want us to help them. We have something they need as well. Now, apparently when they first met to discuss our solar system, which is in a particular sector, which is along a trade route, which moves into the Andromedan galaxy and others galaxies. There were approximately 72 of the 133 originally that met. Of the 72, just more than half agreed to look into it and to help us. The other planetary races didn't want to help us, and this was their reason why. They don't respect their home, they don't respect themselves, and they don't respect each other. What is their value? I cried that night when I heard this. Because, you know, I couldn't make an excuse. I mean, this is how a bunch of other races look at us. You know? Fortunately, a majority had agreed to help because of the consequences long term. And basically that's why they're here. That's one of the reasons why they're here. Also, in our future, 400 years into our linear future, there is tyranny in our galaxy. And somehow we are directly connected to that event or events. So in one way, they're really looking out for their own best interests by making sure that something is cleaned up here, that, you know, that something comes into balance. And they know that as long as the other ETs that are here, the extraterrestrial races that are here, and are manipulating, we won't move. So they have to be removed. And I asked, would you do it by force? And he said, we would have to. And what they would do is they would enter the poles and then flush everybody out to the surface. So folks, when you see a reptilian crossing the highway, don't run over them, just get out of the way. Okay? I mean, it could get really, really weird here in the next 6-8 years. I mean, you know, you can only hide a truth for so long, and then it just screams out. And they're already trying to prepare you for this stuff. I have a lot of friends telling me about a TV show called Dark Skies. You know, where they're literally telling you, but they're doing it in a way that you think it's just, you know, television. You know, and I don't watch TV. We don't watch TV, so I miss a lot of good stuff, but, you know, I always hear about it. And I think that was it. So now we can go to the questions. What? Okay, ma'am.
Yes, hello, and what I want to tell you and ask you as a consequence is, are you familiar with a book called The Greatest Story Never Told by Lana Cantrell? It's a book about 1,000 pages, and she describes in her research that we did used to have a green skin and we were copper-based, and she also described all these color changes that we went through based on her research. Now this book is literally small print, 1,000 pages, and I'm not through with it. But she also said the problems, describes the physiological problems that we have because of the lack of zinc, copper, and what the iron is doing to us, and what it did to us. Because our physiology changed, our mentality and who we were narrowed totally. So you...
What's the question?
Confirm to me this.
Okay.
And my question is, did they tell you anything that we could do for ourselves to help ourselves to go back? That's one part. The other thing is the genetics, the DNA. We apparently used to have multi-strand DNA. Do you know anything about it? And do we need it in our evolution? The third part is, it's Did we used to have a whole brain that wasn't divided, and do you know anything about that?
Okay, thank you very much. I do not know about the whole brain part. As far as the book, I've heard of it. I've had other people approach me, but I understand it's out of print. And I understand that Miss Cantrell does not return letters or anything. She's just basically in hiding for whatever her reasons are. As far as the DNA, I have been told that those of us who are holding a higher frequency are literally creating a third strand. Most of the children coming in since 1982 already have a third strand. So this is just nature's way, this is the isness's way of just fixing things, as long as we're open to it. Okay. Okay, the question was, how can we help ourselves? I have asked that, and Mornay, all he has said is the information and wisdom already exists on your planet. So basically, you know, don't ask us about yourselves, ask yourself about yourself. There's no shortcuts with them. I wish there were.